In the peaceful village of Willow Woods, life was simple and joyful. The sun was bright, and the birds sang songs that filled the air with sweet melodies. The children of Willow Woods spent their days playing outside, chasing each other, and laughing as they ran through the soft grass. Among the children, there was a brave girl named Alita. She had big blue eyes that sparkled like the sky, and long brown hair that flowed in waves as she ran. Alita was known for her curiosity and her love of adventure. She would spend hours exploring the woods, climbing the tall trees, and listening to the rustling of the leaves. Each day, after school, she would rush out of her house, excited to explore the wild and wonderful forest that bordered her village. But one evening, something changed. As the sun set and painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, a strange sound echoed through the forest. It wasn't the usual bird calls or the rustling of animals in the bushes. This was different. It was a low, growling noise, deep and eerie, as if something was calling from the depths of the forest. The villagers gathered around the fire in the center of the village. Their faces were filled with worry and fear. The older villagers huddled together, whispering anxiously. "Did you hear that?" Mr. Brown, the baker, said, his voice trembling. "It sounds like a beast." "It must be a monster," cried little Gwen, who was holding on to her mother's dress. She was scared, and her eyes were wide with fear. Alita stood quietly in the crowd, her eyes bright with curiosity. She had heard the sound too, but instead of feeling afraid, she felt a deep sense of wonder. What could it be? She wondered aloud, her mind racing. Maybe it's lost and needs help. She was always ready for an adventure, and this was a mystery she wanted to solve. The elders, wise and old, warned everyone. "Stay away from the forest at night," they said in low, serious voices. "The creature in the woods is dangerous. It will only frighten you." But Alita couldn't shake the feeling that the sound meant something important. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Alita lay wide awake. She couldn't stop thinking about the growling noise. What was it? Was it really a monster or something else? What if it needed help? Alita tossed and turned in her bed. She had to know more. "I have to go," she whispered to herself, feeling both excited and scared. Her heart raced as she imagined what might be waiting for her in the forest. She knew it was risky, but her curiosity was stronger than her fear. When the clock struck midnight, Alita quietly got out of bed. The moonlight was shining brightly through her window, casting soft shadows on the floor. She took a deep breath and slipped on her warm woolen cloak that smelled like fresh linen. She grabbed her small lantern, its glass glowing faintly in the dark, and tiptoed out of the house. The night air was cool against her cheeks, and the stars above twinkled like diamonds. "I will be brave," she whispered to herself, walking with steady steps toward the edge of the forest. The trees were tall and dark, their branches swaying gently in the wind. Alida felt a strange pull, as if the forest itself was calling her name. Every step she took made her heart beat faster. She knew she was going to discover something important, something that would change her life forever. Alida walked deeper into the forest, the sounds of the night surrounding her. The growling noise seemed to grow louder with every step, but she wasn't afraid. Instead, she felt more excited. She was sure that the answer to the mystery was waiting for her just ahead. After a while, she came to a large, ancient tree. Its trunk was thick and gnarled, and its branches stretched high into the sky. The leaves shimmered in the moonlight, casting strange shadows on the ground. It was an old, magical tree, and Alida had heard stories about it. Suddenly, a soft voice called out to her. "Welcome, brave girl," it said, and Alida jumped in surprise. "Who said that?" Alida asked, looking around. There was no one in sight. "Do not be afraid. I am Old Willow, the wise spirit of this forest," the voice replied, coming from the tree itself. Alida gasped, wide-eyed with wonder. "You're Old Willow?" she asked. "I've heard stories about you." "Yes, I have watched over this forest for many years," Old Willow replied. "I know why you are here. You seek the truth about the strange sound." Alida nodded eagerly. "Yes. What is it? What's making that noise?" Old Willow's leaves rustled softly in the wind, like a soothing song. "The sound you hear is the cry of the shadow wolf," said Old Willow. "He was once a guardian of these woods, but now he is lost and trapped in darkness." Alida's heart sank. "What happened to him?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Old Willow sighed, the sound gentle and full of sorrow. A dark spirit tricked the shadow wolf, filling his heart with sadness and fear. The curse changed him, and now he frightens everyone. But deep inside, he is still the noble wolf he once was. Alida felt a strong desire to help. "How can we help him?" she asked. Old Willow's voice softened. "Only kindness can break the curse," the tree said. "The shadow wolf needs to feel love and friendship again. Will you help him, brave girl?" Alida nodded without hesitation. "I will help him," she said. She felt a deep connection to the shadow wolf and knew that she could make a difference. "Be careful, Alida," Old Willow warned. "The path ahead is dark and the forest can be tricky. But if you follow your heart, you will find your way." With those words in her mind, Alita set off toward the place where the shadow wolf cried out, determined to bring kindness and hope to the troubled wolf. The forest grew darker as Alita continued her journey. The sounds of the night were all around her, and the eerie growls filled the air. But Alita pressed on, feeling stronger with every step. She knew she was doing the right thing. Finally, she came to a clearing where the moonlight shone brightly. In the center of the clearing, standing tall and proud, was the shadow wolf. His fur was dark, almost black, and his eyes glowed with an eerie light. He was bigger than any wolf Alita had ever seen, and his growl was deep and threatening. Alita's heart raced, but she remembered what old Willow had said. "Be kind," she whispered to herself. She stepped forward slowly, not showing fear. "Shadow Wolf," she called softly. The wolf turned his head, his glowing eyes locking onto Alita. He growled low, his teeth sharp and ready to bite. But Alita didn't back away. She took another step forward and held out a piece of bread she had brought with her. "I've brought you food," she said gently. "Please, take it. I want to help." The wolf hesitated, sniffing the air. Alita could see the sadness in his eyes, and her heart ached for him. She started to sing a soft, gentle song, one her mother used to sing to her when she was scared. The song was calm and soothing, and Alita poured all her kindness and hope into it. The shadow wolf's growl faded, and Alita saw his eyes soften. He stepped closer, drawn in by her kindness and the melody of her song. Alita's heart pounded in her chest as the shadow wolf stepped closer. His fur was as dark as the night, and his eyes burned with a fierce, glowing light. But as he came near, something in his eyes softened. The growl that had once rumbled like thunder started to quiet down, and Alita could feel the tension in the air slowly melting away. Alita didn't stop singing. She let the sweet melody fill the space between them, hoping the wolf could feel her kindness in every note. She continued to hold out the bread, her hands steady, despite the fear creeping into her heart. The wolf sniffed the air again. Slowly, cautiously, he leaned forward. Alita's breath caught in her throat as she watched him take a step closer. His massive paws made soft noises on the ground as he approached. Then, with a careful movement, the shadow wolf took the bread from her hand. His sharp teeth gently bit into it, and Alita watched, holding her breath. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, something magical began to unfold. The tension around them started to fade. The wolf's fur, once dark and heavy, seemed to lighten a little in the moonlight. His eyes, though still glowing, had a softer look in them. It was as if something inside him had changed. Alita kept singing, her voice growing stronger. "You're not alone," she whispered in between verses. "You don't have to be scared anymore." The shadow wolf finished the bread, and to Alita's amazement, he did something unexpected. He lowered his head, his glowing eyes meeting hers. A soft, almost gentle whimper escaped him. Alita felt a rush of warmth in her chest. She smiled at him, stepping closer, still singing softly. "You're free now," she said. "You don't have to be the shadow wolf anymore. You can be a guardian again." For the first time, the wolf's body seemed to relax. His fur shimmered under the moonlight, like the first rays of dawn touching a dark forest. Alita felt a deep connection to him, as if she could feel his heart beginning to heal. The curse was starting to break. The shadow wolf let out a soft, long howl. It wasn't a cry of fear or anger this time. Instead, it was a howl filled with hope, like a song of freedom. The trees around them seemed to respond, their branches swaying gently, as if joining in the wolf's song. Alita watched in wonder as the wolf's form began to change. The dark shadows that had surrounded him started to lift, like mist clearing away in the morning sun. His fur became brighter, almost silver, and his once fierce eyes now looked calm and full of gratitude. Alita felt her heart race with joy. She had done it. She had helped the shadow wolf, not with weapons or strength, but with kindness and love. The wolf, now shining with a silver glow, stood tall and proud. His eyes locked with Alita's, and she could feel the bond between them growing stronger. "You're beautiful," Alita whispered, her eyes wide with amazement. "You're not the shadow wolf anymore. You're free." The wolf lowered his head to her level, his eyes warm with gratitude. "Thank you, Alita," he said, his voice deep and comforting. "You have broken the curse. I am no longer the shadow wolf. I am Silver Guardian of this forest." Alita gasped, feeling a rush of happiness. "Silver Guardian," she repeated, smiling brightly. "That's a beautiful name." Silver Guardian nodded. "I was once a protector of these woods," he said, "but the darkness clouded my heart, and I forgot who I was. You reminded me, Alita. You brought me back." Alita felt a deep sense of pride. "You're welcome, Silver Guardian. You can protect the forest again, just like you did before." The two of them stood together in the moonlit clearing, feeling the warmth of their connection. The forest was quiet now, peaceful. Alita knew her adventure was just beginning. Now, from this point, the story will be continued in the next part.